So hey, big fella, happy 75. I've known you for, I think, about 38 years. Got some stories. I think the one that I like to tell the most may not be your fondest memory, but I got a pretty big kick out of it. And if you remember, back in the 80s, when we used to fly commercially, we used to play this moronic, childish game called the paper game. We would be sitting at the gate in an international airport. Somebody would be reading the sports page, and one of your teammates would just come along and karate chop the paper out of their hands. And it would startle them, and everybody got a good laugh about it, but nobody ever did it to you. For obvious reasons, because you're you, okay? But then there was this one day in the locker room, and you were reading the paper, and you were holding it wide open like nothing was going to happen to you. And Magic and Coop had their lockers directly across from yours, and I was listening to this whole thing and watching this thing. Coop was goading Magic to go and knock the paper out of your hand. And Magic didn't want to do it, but then Coop offered him $100. And they said, $100? Shit. He got up and walked across the locker room and karate chopped that paper right out of your hand, and it stunned you. And you looked down, and then you looked up, but instead of looking at Magic, you looked at Coop. You said, I heard that, Coop. And then you stewed. You stewed for a while, because like you never really retaliated right away. And you measured it, and you waited, and you waited, and then your time came. And I remember it vividly. We were flying out of Detroit on a Northwest Airlines flight, and Coop fell asleep up in first class with a blanket over his head, and you got up and snuck over there and pulled the blanket down and pulled out a bottle of Nair and put a big dab of Nair right square on his head right here. And it took about 5 or 6, 7 minutes. It started burning his scalp, and he woke up. He had no idea what was going on, but we all did. Right? And you burned a hole in his hairline. He walked around for I don't know how long until his hair grew back with about a 25-cent piece hole in his head. And you turned around and looked at the rest of us and went, ha ha ha. Right? And that's why I love you, brother. Happy birthday, man.